It's my great pleasure to introduce Kate. For those of you who don't know, Kate is Senior Director of Global Digital Product, Snappy, over at VF Corp, based in Denver. I have known Kate now for a few years, and I can speak personally to tell everyone what a fantastic leader Kate is. And many of you may not know, but the mobile project we did about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, was a huge success. And that was partly down to Kate and her leadership and how we worked as a partnership led by Kate. So you'll probably hear a bit more about that as the session goes on. Kate has a very can-do leadership style, which makes it a great pleasure to be around in her company. But what many of you won't know, partly what today is about, is that Kate was actually a big part of the inspiration of why we started Win10X program. During one of Joe and my visits to Denver, we were having a conversation and she was explaining about the unique challenges that women face sometimes in technology, which got us thinking. So you guys won't have known that. So enough from me. I'm going to pass you back to Kirti before we hear Kate's story. But thank you so much, Kate, for doing this. This will mean a lot to so many of these people. So a big thank you from us. Back to Kirti.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Steve. Good morning to you, Kate, and hello to all my colleagues in the meeting who have joined from the US, UK, India, and Middle East. Steve has given a wonderful introduction about Kate and how Kate's invisible hand has had a role in the inception of Win10X. Joe would vouch for the fact that we have been keen for your participation in Win10X Women in Technology Leadership Speaker Series, Kate, and we are super excited to have you with us today.
So sometimes you wait for a long time for the best.
Oh, please.
Absolutely.
Oh, please. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. And thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. If someone wants to go ahead and share the slides, we can start just on the title slide.
Yeah.
Cool.
So just a few words about you, Kate. I had prepared your experiences and I just wanted to.
Please. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we all know that Kate is a Senior Director, Global Digital Product at VF Corporation. Kate started her career as an ERP analyst, rose to this leadership role in quick time testimony to her valuable.
One second, Kirti. Can everyone else please go on mute? Thank you.
Yeah, as I was saying, Kate started her career as an ERP analyst, rose to this leadership role in quick time testimony to her leadership skills and various other skill sets. Kate's illustrious career has experiences from ConocoPhillips and as Director IT Strategy in Davita Kidney Care to being Director Mobile Technology in VF and now a Senior Director Digital Product at VF. Kate is also Executive Committee member of Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce and is very passionate about empowering women in technology. With all the unique challenges women face in the industry, as Steve mentioned earlier, we realized that it's important that there is a solidarity built to lift each other up. And as it goes, empower women. And Kate, we are waiting to hear it from you. And friends, Kate will be talking to us on the topic Tech Forward, strengthening the future of women's career growth, and also sharing with us valuable insights from her leadership journey. Thank you very much. And over to you, Kate.
Yeah, absolutely. My goodness. That was a lot about me. So thank you all for putting that together. I don't know if you're having any issues seeing the slides. They're kind of cut off for me, but while you're working on that, we'll go ahead and get kicked off. So first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I too have been very, very excited about being here to speak with you all. And I can't wait. Thank you, Steve, Joe, Kirti. Thank you so much for the introduction. You make me sound a lot better than I probably am. So I really appreciate that. A couple things before we jump in. So my hope for today is that I can leave you with at least one, maybe two things to take with you, and that you can apply towards your own career growth and possibly also the strengthening of someone else's career growth as well. I will say at first, I struggled a little bit about like what I wanted the title of this talk to be. I think Joe knows I went back and forth, like, what do you think about this word? What do you think about that word? Because I really want it to be inspiring and unique and, dare I say, a little bit catchy. But I think the truth of the matter is we can sometimes get a little bit jaded when we hear these keywords so often, to the point where we're like, what does that even mean anymore? Right. And certainly, what do they mean if we can't stand behind them and action on them on behalf of ourselves and on behalf of each other? So let's make sure that once we're done here today, that you feel clear on at least one thing that's actionable for you to make a change. And if you don't feel like you have that clarity, then let's address that in the Q&A at the end. The last thing I'll say, again, before we jump in, is I love doing talks like this, but I get a little bit nervous because I want to make sure, and I wonder if I'm going to be able to offer you guys something new. So that's certainly top of mind for me. So another hope I have is that you hear somewhat of a consistent message, which means it's okay if you hear some of the same things, because that means we are focusing on a common goal. But I also hope that I can offer you something new that's going to encourage your path forward in your tech career, and for other females as well. I want you to be an advocate for yourself. I want you to strengthen your skills. And I hope that after we leave here today, you feel a little bit more powerful and empowered on how you're going to do that. It takes more than just ourselves and our individual work ethic. It takes focus on more places in the career journey than, once you've already gotten started or where you are now. And we're going to address all those things today. So if you'll go to the next slide, please. Cool. Okay. So it's a little bit cut off, but no problem. Certainly, I'm not a professional slide creator, so the focus is not on that, but just a little bit about what we're going to cover. I will do an intro of myself. I know a lot of it was covered by the individuals that have already spoken this morning, but I think I'm going to take it a little bit different of a route. I don't want to talk about me for the sake of talking about me. I want to talk about me as it pertains to the Win10X vision and mission, actually. We'll do a slide on how can we be a part of inspiring others, and what can we do for other females thinking about joining the tech industry, or having a tech career, as well as what we can do now for people that are already in it. And then we'll focus a little bit on how can you strengthen yourself to grow. So again, it's not just about ourselves, it is about others. But if we ignore ourselves, that would be a huge miss as well. And then we will do a final slide on how can we turn and make these things actionable. So a bit of a recap. So without further ado, if you'll go to the next slide. Cool. So again, introduction. I've gotten a lot of fantastic, very nice words this morning, but who am I, and why is that relevant to the Win10X vision and mission? I think I wanted to make sure that what we talked about today, including anything about me, my background, education, career, external involvement, all of that, all those pieces could tie back to the Win10X vision and mission. And I think that what you're
Kate, I think we have gone on mute.
Did we lose her or?
I think maybe someone accidentally muted me because my hands haven't touched anything, but where did you guys stop hearing me?
Maybe 20 seconds back. Be fine.
Okay, I'll just hit it real quick. I just want to make sure that even in my intro, right, I'm able to tie everything back to the Win10X vision and mission. I think what you'll find with me is I really like for things to be broken down and actionable. And so just to speak words for the sake of words, I don't really love to do that. So I want to make sure that I can and tie it back to the vision. So for today, I've decided to pull 2 pieces from your vision and 1 piece from the mission. So you'll see a theme of inspiration, or to inspire, encouragement, or encourage, as well as to grow or to provide growth. So who am I? where, did I go to school? I did go to school. Went to Baylor University. That piece of information in and of itself is pretty useless, other than I did go to college. But more importantly, I majored in management information systems, which you guys are probably familiar. But if not, this is just a fancier way of saying the intersect between management or business and computer science. I knew that computer science alone was not going to be the place that I would thrive. So loved that information systems offered that balance between the two. And I think, I'm kind of one of very few people that have like graduated with a particular major, and my entire career has been in that, utilization of that, what I studied in school. I have lately seen a lot of people making career changes, et cetera, but I love what I do. And yeah, like I've been doing the same thing ever since I graduated from university. But the most important thing I want to highlight in this section is that I had the best professor of all time at Baylor. Dr. Cook, you're going to hear me reference her a lot. I feel comfortable saying like she single-handedly was the reason that I got excited about women in technology. She was my mentor. She was my advocate. She is the reason that I chose the major. I feel very confident in saying that without her, I would not have done that. I went into school as a pre-law major. My dad thought it would be a good idea. I have no idea why. He was very wrong. That wasn't for me. But when I met Dr. Cook and she kind of talked to me about like what opportunities were out there, I immediately was hooked. And so my hope is that after today, each of you think about how might you play some similar type of role for other females coming up in the tech industry or that are, still in school trying to decide what they want to do. How might you be somewhat of a Dr. Cook to them? What am I involved in? You heard Kirti mention a few of these during the intro, but I want to break them down and kind of explain like why they're on this slide and why does it matter that they're a part of who I am. So I recently just rolled off as for serving on the board of the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce. And the Women's Chamber of Commerce is an organization that exists solely to uplift women in business. So not necessarily women in tech, but like women in the business world. This organization exists to uplift them, support them, and grow them. This is big for me to be surrounded by a group of women that are like have the same personal mission, not just for themselves, but for the Colorado community. I am also a part of what we call Leadership Denver. Steve mentioned I live in Denver, Colorado. Leadership Denver is a cohort. They do one a year. You do have to apply and be admitted. But this cohort of people is all genders, but are leaders in, I don't even want to say in the corporate world, but are leaders in industries that make up the Denver community. So in this group, I get exposure to leaders in all sorts of industries. There are people that are CEOs of companies. There are people that work for the Denver Police Department, small business owners, lawyers, you name it. But with this group, I am surrounded by like-minded individuals in a sense of we're coming together as leaders to figure out how we want to make our community a better place. I'm also a part of the ITC, which is Irvine Technology Corporation, spring cohort. And this is a group, this is also a group where you do have to apply and be admitted. But this group of women is women in tech focused. So this is an opportunity for me to see where can I be encouraged by other women in tech? And then also, if I'm lucky, like where can I encourage women in tech as well? And then lastly, I serve as a mentor for VF Corporation. Steve mentioned I work for VF. VF is a parent company to a portfolio of brands, some of which you have heard. Steve's wearing the jacket. We have North Face, Vans, Timberland, among others. So so it's a large corporation, but I do work in the digital and technology part of the organization, and this is my opportunity to be a mentor for someone else, another woman in the tech world as well, but like in my kind of confines of the industry or the company that I work for. And I think the point I want to make here is not just to like tell you all the things that I'm involved in, but to tell you why and why did I kind of target these specific things. And it's to make sure that I make my involvement well-rounded, if you will. It's not just women in tech focused. It's other leaders in my community as a whole. It's business-minded people. It is women in tech, but it kind of takes involvement in a wide variety of things to really feel like I'm kind of covering all my bases. So make sure that when you're thinking about what are the things that you want to be involved in, it's great if you think about, outside of the technical thing that you do today. This will be a theme here. And then lastly, growth as a part of your mission. Like I won't spend a ton of time here. You guys hit on this in the intro, but like what types of roles have I had in the tech world? And this is not all of them, but the story I wanted to be able to tell with, my past roles is like where I started and where I am right now, nobody would have been able to map that out for me. It didn't look like a perfect inclining trajectory. It looked like a mosquito bouncing around in a tent, right? It's not just that perfect incline. And I want to make sure that you guys know if you find yourself on like a similar, I won't even call it a pattern, it's not a pattern, on a similar journey, that's okay. I started as a desktop support analyst, which is a much cuter way to say I was on the help desk. Like I started as the person that I worked for for an oil and gas company. Like I was the person or one of the people that people called like when their computer was freezing and like, have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? Like it wasn't, the cutest all roles, but I will say the things that I learned in that position, being exposed to anything and everything around like what's happening in our company that they need help with technology wise, I couldn't have thought of a better place to start. I got exposure to so many different things. And if you would have asked me if that's where I wanted to start, I probably not, but that's okay. I moved on from that to, again, this is not all of them, but I did do a stint with large scale SAP implementations for the same oil and gas company. So traveled all over the United States, a little bit globally as well. Doing SAP implementations. If you want to talk about not a cute job, SAP implementations is probably that. I haven't heard anyone that's like, I really, really, really love SAP. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it's a beast. But again, exposure to not only the tech side, but we got to be with the people, boots on the ground, needing us, saying like, we need you and we need your tech to help us do our business processes better. So that, again, not maybe what I have projected myself to do, but super glad for that experience. I think you heard Steve talk a little bit about, my mobile app world. And so then, did a stint in mobile app development and then quickly realized I really love the product side of things. Being able to determine like what does the future of that roadmap look like, solving problems for our consumers, whoever the consumer may be. I love being on that side. And that kind of was the start of my jump over to product. And since then I've been a product owner, a product manager. And then lastly, I currently right now, I lead the global product organization for VF, primarily focused on e-commerce. Again, I mentioned we're a portfolio of retail brands. So I primarily focus on e-commerce. However, we are kind of recently realizing that our consumers that shop online, a big portion of them are the consumers that shop in our retail stores as well. So we need to make sure that that experience across whatever channel they're shopping is cohesive from how our brands represent themselves. So like I mentioned, bounced around like a little bit of a mosquito. And I just want to encourage you to be open to all options. You don't know where they're going to take you. Create a mission for yourself, have some idea around where you might want to go. So you've got the direction laid out, but how you get there is not going to look the same as someone else who might have that same goal as well. That was a lot about me, but again, my hope is that the focus was more on how can these things about us relate back to the Win10X mission. If you guys want to go to the next slide, please. So where can we begin with you guys? I want to focus on y'all. But for this one, it's really about how can you or how can we be that inspiration? How might we think about, again, being that Dr. Cook, how she was for me to someone else? But before I jump into this slide, if you guys just real quickly, can you guys guess without Googling how many, a range is fine, how many STEM majors are female? I'd say you can type in the chat, but I'm not looking in the chat. So if you're comfortable or you're confident, it's a no judgment zone. Anybody have a guess?
20%.
Okay. Yeah, not
30%.
bad. Okay. Love it. I was going to say there's no wrong answer, but like that's not true. There's probably a wrong answer, but there's no judgment. So thank you. Thank you both for jumping in. If you said anywhere between 24 to 32, I realize that range might feel a little big, but somewhere between 24 and 32, whether you're looking at the number nationally for me in the States or internationally, somewhere between 24 and 32% of STEM majors are female. So let's call it a quarter. And this is due to many things like lack of encouragement, lack of role models, lack of exposure to tech fields early on. So not really knowing what the options might be. Sometimes we hear like, oh, like technology, that sounds maybe a bit daunting, or it could, certainly for students trying to figure out what do they want to major in school. So they don't have that awareness. But did you also know that 50% or somewhere around 50%, and like I'm not here to get my data points exactly right. I'm here to kind of help tell the story. But 50%, that is half of women drop out of the tech field by the time that they're 35. So I would already be gone by now a few years ago. If we only start with a quarter of STEM majors being female, and then half of that quarter drop out by the time that they're 35, think of how small the pool of women is that we have to grow and develop into leaders in the tech space. We're already working with such a small number. But I think that focusing on the drop off alone is not good enough, because think of any other problem solving. If we're only focusing on the drop off or where the problem becomes super highlighted, that's reactive, right? We can only be so effective when we stay reactive. We have to think how we got to go upstream from that, right? We can't just focus on the drop off. And that brings me to the next point of we have to be a part of helping fill the pipeline. And like, what does that mean? So I want to make sure that we understand, like, we are the inspiration for others. We just have to be it. So we've got to go upstream, like I said. There are so many options in the technology field. Think about it, like with the rise of AI, cybersecurity needs, everything's online now. So the need for cybersecurity is higher than it's ever been, and it's not slowing down. Software engineering, that's not going away. And then, of course, creating leaders in these spaces as well. We should be asking ourselves this question: how can we help make known the opportunities that are out there for the females that are entering this field? Was there a question? No. Okay, cool. And then lastly, we need to be an advocate for them as well. So again, I refer to her often, I'll never stop, but thinking about how can we be someone like my college professor was for me. Perhaps college professor is not on your career list. And at this moment in time, it's not on mine either, although I have thought about that. But could you be willing to make connections at your local university to speak to incoming students at orientation, spread the word, help them know what opportunities are out there? Could that be something that Win10X does as a part of the growth pillar of your mission? Getting, G10X in front of college students at their orientation, talking about the good work that you guys do and the opportunities that you have. There's not just one way to be an advocate, but I do believe that we need to be the advocate in order to strengthen the future of other potential women in tech in their careers. Okay, so that is how we could be helpful to others. But what about you? If you want to go to the next slide, please. But what about you? You guys are important as well. How can you be encouraged, but also encourage others? You should be thinking about, I hate to tell you what you should do, but I'm very passionate about it. So I'm going to say kind of pointed vernacular. You should be thinking about how can you strengthen yourself? We've got to go beyond just the technical skills. I will say, I feel confident in saying technical skills alone will not suffice if you're interested in growing into leadership positions or really doing anything outside of the realm of the exact technical role that you're playing right now. Okay. Think about, how might you improve your strategic thinking? Do you, and you likely do, how can you improve your business acumen? Maybe you're a software engineer. I'll role play for a second. I'm a software engineer. I'm creating mobile applications for VF Corporation to help Vans sell more shoes. That's great. That's a very important role. But how much more knowledgeable will you be when you know the purpose of what you're doing? Do you have that business acumen where you know why the money matters, what caliber of money matters, knowing your consumers, who are you serving with that mobile app that you're building? I don't know if you're anything like me, but when I have a direct tie and purpose of what I'm doing in my day job to the larger and broader ecosystem, I'm much more fulfilled. So how can you improve that business acumen for yourself? Team management. Are you interested in leading a team? Are you interested in managing people? Are those some skills that you probably need to, strengthen the muscle for? The answer is probably yes. So be thinking about how you can go beyond those technical skills. Continuous learning, again, leadership programs. What can you be a part of? Mentorship programs. Where can you dive in to strengthen your skill set? This last one is super, super important. Sounds very cliche, but you've got to build your own visibility. Saying it more bluntly, a question you can ask yourself is, do people know who you are? Okay. I will say at a certain point in our careers, we get past the point of, if we want to find a new job or a new role, submitting our resume, uploading it, and hoping that a recruiter calls us back, right? At a certain point, I will say the next role that you obtain is because of who you know. But if someone doesn't know who you are, and there's two qualified people that could potentially go into that role, the chances are that the person who has built that visibility for themselves is probably going to get the role because they're known and their work ethic is known. So building the visibility for yourself is crucial. Next, I would encourage you guys to get involved. You saw my list of organizations that I'm a part of. I mentioned that they're super intentional. I kind of pick and choose what I want to be a part of based on my personal mission. I will say join those external organizations that align with the mission and the vision that you have for yourself. This is a huge way to get encouraged by other people. And if we're lucky, a huge way for you to be that encouragement for them as well. Know your community. This is a big one for me. Just doing the thing that you do day to day with your job alone, I don't think is going to be enough. And I do feel confident in saying that in order to learn and grow and expose yourself to more, you need to get involved in your community as well. And then lastly, build a network. Personally, I'm an introvert. So this statement of building a network, I love and I hate it. I love the idea of this. And I love the outcome of this, I don't always love doing this. The thought of going to a huge party or a huge event where I don't know 99% of the people, I'd rather just crawl under a table and like, I don't know, eat popcorn and watch a movie. But I do know that the outcome of this is so crucial. I talked a little bit about, like, you've heard, at a certain point, leaders say, your next job doesn't come from just uploading the resume. I talked about this when I said, building your visibility. It happens because of someone or someone that who knows someone, or someone that they know that may have heard about someone like you being a good fit for the position. Your network is going to be what supports you for an elongated career development. I will say, then your network is your cornerstone for future opportunities. So please don't sleep on that. Okay, I don't know how long I've been talking, but I think I'm still good on time, which is perfect because at this point we'll go to the last slide, which I hope the things that I have said so far have helped you come up with some actionable things. But this last slide will just kind of serve as a bit of a recap. Some will be a repeat, but again, let's turn these into actions. So first, please encourage women to act at all stages, build the pipeline, focus on the women now and how you can support them, but also go upstream, focus on the women that are still trying to figure out what do they want to do? What do they want to study? Be a part of help building that and be that advocate. Find resources and programs that support the career growth of women in business, maybe, or women in tech. I think Win10X is a fantastic start. Where else can you guys take this? Y'all make up Win10X. What are the ideas that you have? Bring them forward. Where can you take the program? Maybe I should have a seat on the Win10X board, Joe and Steve, so I can bring ideas too. Determine the interest that you have and determine your interest rather, and take on roles that build your skill set. And kind of like my career journey has shown, like, be open to options. Think about what potential roles might open the next door for you beyond that. And then lastly, we just kind of finished up on the slide before when I said build your network. Please continue to grow your connections. You won't regret that. So that is about all I have. If you want to go to the last slide, it's just a question slide, but I think Kirti and Nidhi, you guys had mentioned we'll open it up for some Q&A at the end. And you guys are over here, but the camera's over here. So if you see me going back and forth, I'm talking to you here, but I'm looking at you here. So
That's fine. That's perfect.
Well, first of all, to answer your question, Kate, well, first of all, thank you for doing this. But to answer your question, we didn't tell you this was actually an interview for you to see if you can, if the women vote to have you on the Win10X board.
Okay, I hope I did okay. We can talk after.
All right,
Okay,
Kirti,
so-
you're in charge.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Kate, for your.
Of
Yeah,
course,
sure.
I see some hands raising, so I'll let someone else be the MC, but yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so thank you, Kate, for your inspiring words. Your speech and the experiences that you have shared have not only deepened our understanding, but also deeply motivated us. The insights that you provided will have a lasting impression on all of us. So the floor is now open for a formal Q&A session. So before we begin, everyone, please make sure that your microphones are remain muted unless you are speaking. Also, may I request all to turn on the videos as well. So we are open for questions. All, please feel free to engage with Kate and ask your questions.
So we have a question coming from Shankar Ganesh.
Hello.
Hi,
Yeah,
Shankar.
you're right. Yeah, because hey, Kate, thanks for that inspiring session. So, I just recently joined with G10X, and my role is technical project manager. Yeah. So I would like to ask you one question. Like how did you kind of manage the peer pressure from the community, and then especially since this is, kind of focusing on women in technology leadership, right? So what do you think that is the biggest challenge that you have faced in your career to moving upward? Because I see that you started from the desktop analyst to, steps and then product manager, and then you are into the leadership. So if you could explain that, I think that would be great.
Yeah, two very good questions, two very loaded questions. So I'll give my perspective, but certainly open for further communication as well. So the first question you had was how do I like not give into the peer pressure? And I'll say that I think peer pressure probably comes in a lot of different ways. So there's probably not a silver bullet to just like do this one thing and you'll no longer be a victim of peer pressure. I think there's more than that, right? Because it can come in any form or fashion. But I'll say the further I get into my career, the more confidence I have in who I am. Maybe not every day it's on what I'm doing, but I think if you guys can build a solid foundation on like who you are, what you stand for, and the mission that you're trying to accomplish and your goals, then you feel less inclined to give into the peer pressure. I think if you're not confident in where you're going or not what you're doing from a job standpoint, but like your vision and your mission for yourself, the less confident you are in that, the higher of the chance that you're going to be a victim of that peer pressure. So I'd say work on your personal goals, work on your personal mission to help reduce that. Your second question was like, what is the biggest challenge that I have? That's also a super loaded question too, but I will say, let me think about, if I want to hone in on one particular area. I kind of go back to building your network. And I don't mean in this case, your external network of like, who do I know outside of VF Corporation that can make a connection for me? I think building an internal network within, in your case, G10X, in my case, VF Corporation right now, building advocates for myself will help reduce what my biggest problem is. The biggest problem, guys, is people, right? We are our biggest support system. We're also like, we're our own worst critic. Other people are critics of us. Like we can't control people. So I will say it's the biggest challenge is like oftentimes what other people may do to get in the way of the vision and the mission that I have. And so to kind of fight that and to make that less of a problem is make sure that you're building your internal network as well, so that you've got advocates that will go and advocate for you even when you're not in the room. I also say thank you so much for the question, because we talk a lot about like women. Excuse me, I'm also getting over a cold just like Joe. But we talk a lot about women supporting women, but all genders need to support women, right? We're not going to get as far as we can get if it's only women supporting women. And so please think about how you could be someone that is an advocate for your fellow women in tech as well, to help reduce the barriers that they're going to come across. I realize I'm not answering specifically the question of like, what is my biggest challenge? Because I would say day to day they differ. But it's probably people and the spectrum of, the type of personalities that we come across. Some people might stand in our way, and it's likely, I will say this has taken me a long time to feel confident saying, but generally the people that become our biggest barriers, it's stemming from a place of insecurity. And the moment that we can realize that and try to let that bother us less, the more successful that we're going to be. I don't love the advice of just let it go, because I feel like that dismisses maybe the real problem that we might be having. But I think if we can remind ourselves that people that aren't in our corner that create those barriers or those problems for us, it probably stems from insecurity. We can realize that, we can move forward quickly. Thank you so much for the questions.
Oh, thanks, Kate, for that. It's really impressive. But then I would like to, stress on the answer of the first question which I asked on the peer pressure, because it was really impressive that you were stressing upon that losing the confidence on self whenever you are on pressure. That was impressive. Like the other one. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hi, Kate. I'm Deepthi. I'm the QA manager with Win10X. So I have a question on the gender gap in the workplace. So in general, if you look at various industries, there is obviously a gender gap that requires work to improve upon, and it's in the same in our IT field as well. So beyond awareness, we need actionable steps to drive this real change. So Kate, may I ask, in your view, what practical steps can organizations or individuals take to bridge this gender gap?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I fear I might refer to something I talked about already. If that doesn't give a new, fresh idea, we can always continue the conversation. But I think I had mentioned earlier where as women in tech, we're already starting with a smaller number, right? We talked about only a quarter of women majoring in STEM majors, and then 50% of us dropping off by the time we're 35. So the pool of women is so much smaller. So I truly believe that trying to address that gender gap problem at the point in which it is the problem is not soon enough, or it is more obviously the problem. It's obviously a problem when we're in the working world and we're looking at the pool of people to move into leadership positions, and there's very few women to choose from. So I think I'll try to answer it in two ways. I'm going to repeat myself and then I'll try to say something new. The repeating is we've got to go further up in the pipeline. The actionable step for us as women in tech is taking a look at our daughters, our friends' daughters, maybe younger people we know that are just starting to come up through the university space and asking the question of like, what might I be interested in? If we can showcase to them what opportunities are out there, we can build that pipeline, making the pool a larger number to start with. Once we get into the career, though, and you're kind of saying, okay, well, how do we bridge that gender gap once we're there? I had mentioned the drop off, that half drop off by the time they're 35 is really due a lot in not having proper mentorship, proper advocates to keep them going. We as women face different barriers as men. And I believe that if we can focus on, creating that group of advocates for women on behalf of other women, we can help them overcome those barriers that they may be experiencing or they're likely experiencing. I will say that the question that I don't have the silver bullet to is like, okay, but then what about, like, let's say you're looking at staffing, an executive leadership team. I think we can't just simply say, okay, you've got to have, at least 50% women and 50% men. Like that's not an answer to that question. And I don't know the exact response of, at a certain point, how do you ensure that there is equal representation? But I do feel confident in saying if our pool of skilled women leaders is bigger, the chances of us being able to have more of an equal representation on leadership boards and teams, we're likely to get closer to that balance.
Thank you, Kate.
You guys have good questions. I didn't really prepare for all of these. So thank you for them. And thank you for getting my brain churning this morning.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Kate.
Hi.
Myself, Arpita. I am a test engineer at G10. Since you have shared about your mentor and how significantly she guided you in choosing your career path, I would just like to ask you that how do you mentor and uplift the next generation of women in tech?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say, yeah, absolutely. She certainly was the catalyst of me jumping into a career in technology. But what's interesting is mentorship there's not a recipe for what mentorship looks like. And in fact, I did talk about how I serve as a mentor for VF women in tech. And I think there's a lot of great things that come out of that. But then there's a lot of, I would say probably the better work that I do in the mentorship space probably exists outside of a specific organization created around that. So I'll give a couple of examples. Let's say, you're serving as a mentor on the G10X or the Win10X leadership or mentorship cohort. You get paired with someone, but you have absolutely nothing in common, right? Like you're trying really hard to be a mentor for that person, but like maybe you don't jive. I still think there's value in that because there are things that the mentor can bring to the table that the mentee can absolutely learn from. But I'll say more importantly than just an official pairing of a mentor and a mentee through an established program is the mentorship that you can provide outside of that. I will say the people that I would consider mentees of mine happened, I don't love this term because it's kind of a cliche term, but I don't have another one right now. It happened organically. It's who have I identified? Maybe they're on my team, or maybe they work in DT, but they're not on my team, but say I know about them or I work closely with them. The best mentorships happen organically. And like I pick up on the people that I want to help guide because I know I see it in their work ethic. I see it in their drive and passion, in the ways that they want to help as well. So I would say whether you're looking at wanting to be more of that mentor type role or mentee, honestly, I'm both. I am a mentor to some. I have to be a mentee, right? Or else like who's going to help progress me? Think about the role that you want to play, whether it's one or both, and kind of start scouting out who are the people that you look up to. Could they potentially be a mentor that over time you kind of start forming that connection? Same with people on your team or, other teams around you. Who do you pick up on that you say, I want to invest extra time and energy in this person because I know they have so much potential?
Uh, Thanks, Kate. I'll jump in next. I just wanted to say thank you so much for such an actionable presentation. It's amazing. Too often we get like a lot of fluff and not a lot of action overall in these presentations. So super thankful for that. My question is a bit different, so I'm going to pivot away from leadership and I guess mentorship and all of that. Given that you are on so many different boards and part of the community so actively, what I'd love to hear from you is what do you think the next big emerging tech will be? What will shape our future? Obviously, it's all about Gen AI now, but what's next from your point of view?
Yeah, that's a great question, one that I was not prepared to answer. So let's see what I can pull out of here. It's funny, like you've heard this saying, like, if we can imagine it, like it can exist. But then we've heard some people say, like, everything's already been created or everything that's already been imagined is already exists today. And I think about like life 15 years ago, maybe a little bit more when like the iPhone was just coming out. This is not meant to be like a morbid topic at all, but my dad passed away when I was 19, and I am much older than that now. And I oftentimes think like, what would he think if I told him, hey, you can order food like from my phone and some random person will drop it off at my house, or like, hey, I'm going to get a ride to the airport, and I'm going to hop in a car with someone who I have no idea who they are. Like he would absolutely be mind blown. Like he passed in 2006. Think about what has changed from then until now. Our world is nothing like the same. So I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that one as far as like what's going to be the thing that when we're looking back 15 years from now, where we're like, we couldn't have even imagined it. I don't know what that's going to be, but I guess to kind of go back to, you're like, okay, the obvious answer is Gen AI. I will say that is something that in the e-commerce space, which is what I do right now for work, that is absolutely unlocking so much potential for us. So I think it's only going to go further. I'll give a couple of examples, and this is just like one of thousands and thousands of possibilities. But when like virtual try-on first started out, it was like, okay, you could hold up your phone, and we could put a virtual North Face jacket on you and it would probably be kind of like ill-fitting, but you could see what it sort of looked like on you. And where virtual try-on has gone, even just like 2 years ago until now, like we're now exploring, like take that, like one item where all the digital assets already exist and we're just able to put it on, say, you as a consumer. Fast forward, at this juncture, we're taking a look at like how can AI not only maybe show what our product looks like on you as a person, but the generation of the entirety of our product catalog for every single item. AI backgrounds, like
Is it lost for everyone?
Did we just lose her?
Yes,
Yeah.
she got disconnected.
Yeah, she'll join.
Gen I AI didn't like what she was saying and cut her off.
I think we should tell the Agentify AI to bring her back. Yeah, she's back.
She's back.
I just got a message that I've been kicked out of the meeting. So I'm like, did I say something offensive? I was like, what did I do?
Kate, this is Mark. I was saying that you were talking about Gen AI and it jumped in and cut you off because it didn't.
Right? It was like,
right.
Don't tell our secrets. No, I made sure nothing that comes out of my mouth is proprietary information. But to finish the thought, we were once looking at how it can help us in like one single task. And now we're looking at how can it help us generate the entirety of our digital product catalog. And the efficiencies there have gone from like saving us 30 minutes to saving us weeks of time. So I'm going to kind of pull the obvious card on that answer and say I really do think, specifically in my space, the Gen AI and the possibilities for that are probably the thing that we should not ignore. There's a lot of resistance to it because I think there are some people that are worried that it might take their job away. But I think if we can lean in, best figure out how we can use it to our advantage. There are things right now that there are skills that technology cannot replace from humans right now. Let's let technology do the thing that it can do really well. And let's move our human capital to the other areas where it needs to be. Like we can't have AI doing team management and people development right now. Right. So yeah. I'm going to be thinking about that one though. Thank you for getting my brain churning on like what else, what's the next big thing.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
I know we are just 2 minutes until time, so I don't know if you guys want to wrap it up or end with maybe one more question.
Yeah, if we have any other questions, we can. Otherwise, we can wrap it up. Any more questions?
Yeah, I have one question, Kate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Kate, what do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions about women in tech leadership that you might have encountered and had to challenge?
Yeah. So I think my response might sound a little bit cliche, but it's real. And I don't think it's just women in tech. I think it's women in business, but it's kind of a little bit of like the double standard that we have from like a personality standpoint, that just because we're female and kind of trying to battle the stereotypes there. I'll say this, like this is the cliche part, is the whole like men are assertive, women get tagged as aggressive. I think trying to break down the barriers of that oh my God, the term is escaping me. Where you have like, it has multiple meanings. Like we could be doing the same thing, and because the man is doing it, he's assertive, and because a woman's doing it, it's aggressive. The term is on the tip of my tongue. But I think that's probably the thing that is the most frustrating for me, that I really want to work on solving, is like, how can we get to equal playing field where we can show up and have like the same approach and not be looked at as different. I don't know if that fully answers your question, but I'm still working on it
that's
to
one.
answer your question.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one. Yeah, that definitely is one of the challenges that we face on an everyday basis. Thanks, Kate.
Yeah, of course.